Do you think you were born to drink? Do you think that you were genetically predisposed to drink alcohol, become a problem drinker, become an alcoholic from the moment you were born or from the moment you were conceived? That's what this video is going to be about. Come on. I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com, and that's the question today is, do you think that you were born to drink? Do you think that, you know, there's a gene in your ancestors that's been passed down through generations, which has predisposed you to become an alcoholic, predisposed you for the life that you're now facing? For me, I think it's complete and utter bullshit. I think from the perspective of an alcohol gene, right? And I'll talk about this a bit later in connection with other drugs. But from the perspective of a specific alcohol gene, I just think it's nonsense. You know, it doesn't make any sense. Born to drink. You know, it takes away from your abilities as a person, your abilities to change, right? As soon as you've got something that's beyond your control, then you've got an excuse not to quit, right? To say, well, I can't, I'm different from everybody else because it's in my genes, it's in my makeup. It's like somebody who's obese, who, instead of blaming the pizzas that they eat every day and the Coca-Cola that they drink every day, they blame the fat gene, or they say that they're big boned. You know, I don't think alcohol's been around long enough to have that kind of an influence over our genes, to have evolved a gene that makes people more susceptible to alcoholism. I just think that that's rubbish. You know, I think it's got more to do with your surroundings, your environment, who you're surrounded by, you know, the people that are in your life, than anything else. When I was growing up in Ireland and in England, it's the same thing, and I think it's the same thing in a lot of different countries throughout the world. Lots of people around me drank alcohol. Lots of people, right? Both my parents drank, not heavily, but it was there. You know, the alcohol was there. I was raised with alcohol in the supermarkets, alcohol advertised on billboards, on the television. People in the television programs that we used to watch as children all drank. There, you know, in the soap operas, life seems to revolve around the local pub, people going in and drinking. It's just everywhere, right? So that's a massive influence on a young and impressionable growing mind. You know, if you look at your own upbringing, even though, you know, some of those parts might have been missing, you know, your parents might not have drank alcohol, for instance, you definitely will find it, if you're living in the Western world at least, you definitely will find it very difficult to find a place, a country where there is no alcohol advertising. Maybe Iran or somewhere like that, where there's no advertising on the television, where there's no people in television programs drinking as a normal part of their own lives. You know, all those influences. That's just the way that I define myself. Not as this was a single way I defined myself as a male Irish drinker, but it was part of my overall definition as an individual. That's how I saw myself growing up, and that's how all my friends saw themselves. It was part of their individuality. It was part of their makeup, part of who they were. You know, I'm proud to be an Irishman. I'm also proud to be an Englishman. I've got a sort of a mixture between the two nations. Some people in Ireland call me a plastic Paddy. In England, I'm called a Mick. So it doesn't bother me in the slightest. I've been around a lot. I've seen a lot of things in my life, and you know, as far as I'm concerned, the sooner these false notions are gone or are given less power than they have, the better it will be, you know. I mean, I'm all for flags and countries and all that kind of stuff, but they don't half cause problems. Anyway, who I am as a person, right? Up to that stage where I quit drinking was partially defined by me being an Irish male drinker, right? The drinker was a part of it. And I don't define myself in that way anymore. And you get the same thing. It's difficult in the beginning because it's such a part of you. It's wired into your entire being, your entire individuality. That is a part of what you are from the day you were born. You've been slowly building up little pieces of this identity, and each piece has been accumulating until it's a big part of you, this identity, this drinker part of your identity. So it's difficult to get past that at the beginning. It's difficult to get past it before you quit drinking because you first have to know what you're doing, let's face it. You know, if you don't realise, like I didn't, that drinking alcohol is a very dangerous thing to do in terms of your health, in terms of your life, in terms of your spirit, everything, then you're not going to associate with that. You're going to associate it with being an irresponsible drinker. You know, that's the way we're taught to do this. It's not the alcohol, because everyone around you drinks alcohol. It's everywhere. It's a part of our culture, so it can't be the alcohol. It has to be you. You're the alcoholic. You're the problem drinker. It cannot be the alcohol. You are not responsible. You're not being responsible. You're not moderating your drink enough. And I drove myself mad with that kind of stupid thinking. I gave myself such flaws in my personality because of that thinking. I gave myself an inferiority complex because I thought that way, because I started thinking that way a long time ago, that there was something that was radically wrong with me as an individual. And that's wrong. And I mean, I realise that now. I realised that after I was off the alcohol only for a few weeks. You know, I realised that there was something wrong with that kind of thinking. You know, at the time when I quit, I did say it to my son, yes, I think I'm an alcoholic. And I believed it to a certain degree at that stage. Not now. You know, I craved alcohol in the beginning. I knew I didn't want to have any more. I knew that was in the past for me and I wasn't going to have any more, but it's still, the cravings were there nonetheless. And, you're going to get those as well. It's difficult to overcome that. You know, it's just difficult to overcome that. It's hard for you. It's going to be hard for you. But, and here's the big one, it's all part of the conditioning. It's all part of that identity crisis that you've got in your head. I'm going on a mad one here because this one wasn't about this at all. It was about, are you genetically predisposed to alcohol? And you know, I don't think that. So I'm going to carry on with that vein anyway. But just to say that there are going to be certain things that happen in your life. You're going to be uncomfortable for a while because drinking was a part of who you were, and being who you were is the comfort part of your life, right? So you're going to have that. You're going to have discomfort. You're going to feel the cravings, but this is all a part of, nothing to do with you being an alcoholic or you being predisposed to drinking alcohol. It's a part of the lifestyle. It's a part of your old identity just trying to reassert itself, because that is, you know, this is, without the identity, what are you, you know? So you have to try and fix that quickly. That's what this is all about. That's what alcohol mastery is all about, trying to help you to fix that identity, to take all the crap, all that alcohol bullshit out of it and replace it with something far more healthier for your mind and your body. You know, and now I don't crave alcohol anymore. I don't think about alcohol much, except where obviously I have to think about it for the website. For you, I crave life. I crave a future that is not going to be filled with pain and anguish about what I've done to myself. That's what I crave now. I still get bored. I still feel boredom sometimes, but I fill that boredom with other things. I fill it with other things because, you know, you've no choice in the beginning. You have to look for other things to fill the gaps. You know, drinking is once drinking becomes a problem for you, there are some big gaps left that you have to fill. So you've got to find a way of filling those gaps, and that's not easy in the beginning, but you will find things, and you will find better, way better things than you found before. You know, as well as the filling, as well as getting rid of the boredom in my life, I've always been trying to find happiness. And you never find happiness with alcohol, ever. All you find is self-gratification. You find an instant pleasure, and that pleasure has got too many consequences, too many short-term consequences in terms of the hangovers, and too many long-term consequences in terms of the damage that you're doing to your body, your mind, your life, the people around you, your bank account. Too many long-term consequences. Happiness is a completely different thing. It has nothing to do with that short-term instant gratification pleasure. No. That pleasure is fleeting. You know, it doesn't last long. It lasts for the length of time that you are drinking, and probably only for the first few drinks. Once you get over a certain threshold, you drink because you can't stop. You want to keep drinking because you want to get pissed, but the pissed feeling, the drunk feeling, it's not as nice as, it's not as pleasurable as those first couple of drinks. So that short-term pleasure is fleeting, and the long-term pleasure disappears because of alcohol tolerance. Once you drink alcohol for a long time, it will never give you the same buzz as it gave when you were young. And even if you stop for a while and you moderate, moderation is not going to give you the buzz because you want more. If you stop, If you stop for a year, say I had a drink now, probably 2 or 3 drinks, and I'd get drunk, right? But after that, it wouldn't take me very long to get back to the same position I was in before, to the same levels of tolerance that I had before. It wouldn't take long at all. It's very windy today, so it's a beautiful day, but it's windy, so you're probably hearing a bit of microphone in the background, so I apologize for that. You know, as I said earlier, you know, people look for excuses. Personally, you'll look for excuses saying, well, you know, it's not the alcohol, it's me, I need to moderate, blah, 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 I'm not being responsible, blah, blah. Society also makes excuses. They say, it's all right for you to moderate. When you moderate and when you're a responsible drinker, then that's good. Society has got this big emperor's clothes thing going on, right? And they believe all the bullshit because they want the easy way out. They want to have that instant gratification, pleasure in their life that drugs hands them. Most people won't take any other drugs because they know that it's illegal. You know, they don't want to be locked up in prison. To watch out for bikes on here. There's a lot of time you get cyclists coming down here really quickly, and with wind like this you can't hear them, and I don't want to cause them to fall off the bike or for them to crash into my arse either, you know. So, you know, these are all just excuses, you know. It's the individual people blame themselves. Society blames the individual. You know, they say, well, it's not the alcohol's fault, it's your fault because you can't moderate your drinking because you're an alcoholic, and we'll stick you with that label and everything's all right. You know, getting back to the gene thing and the predisposition, if there was no such thing as alcohol in our society, say if we moved to a society and you were born and raised and you just didn't have any access to alcohol, you didn't know what alcohol was, would you crave it? Because that's what they're saying, that you'd have a predisposition for it, that you'd be craving alcohol as part of your genetic makeup. Now, have you ever heard anybody saying that there is a predisposition for people to take heroin or to smoke cigarettes, that it's a genetic thing in them, and that's what heroin addicts are? That's why they can't give up heroin. That's why people can't give up cigarettes. I tried for years to give up cigarettes and I couldn't. It was the worst thing that I've ever done in my life, going through that withdrawal and stopping smoking, because of what I felt in my head, because of what I was telling myself in my head. But you never hear anyone saying that there's a genetic predisposition to people smoking or to people taking heroin. It's exactly the same thing. People go through the same withdrawal, they go through the same holes in their life, the same things that are missing out of their lives. So why don't they say that? It's because these are relatively new things in our life, right? Nicotine, tobacco, smoking is only a relatively new thing in the West. Heroin was only invented, 100 years ago, 150 years ago? So they can't say that, can they? It's a weird thing, but it's proof about what I'm saying. Now, you also have to look at the back end of this and who's behind trying to convince you that you're an alcoholic or you're genetically predisposed to drinking, or, you know, that you were born to be a drunk. Who's behind that? Most of the research behind this kind of stuff is being bankrolled by rich people with vested interests in making themselves richer, and they couldn't give two flying fucks about you, your health, your mental health, your well-being, your family. They don't care. You know, you've got scientists as well who are behind a lot of this stuff, who, you know, if you're a scientist, right, you've got to choose an avenue of research. If you're a research scientist and you're trying to, especially if you're trying to make money out of this, you've got to sort of narrow your focus. Everything is about narrowing things down and getting yourself into a niche, right? So if you're a scientist, let's say if I was a scientist, for argument's sake, that was trying to discover a genetic connection between alcohol addiction or for alcohol addiction, then you're talking about a lot of years, a lot of time invested, a lot of money invested, and you're going to be looking for anything which affirms what your studies are aiming towards, right? Anything. So if I'm this scientist who's been working on this for years and I turn out to be wrong, then, you know, that's not only a lot of time and money that's been lost in the process, it's a huge part of my life, of my working life, of my credibility as a scientist has gone, right? And, you know, think about the money that's involved in these things. There is a lot of money in being able to prove that there is a link between alcoholism and the brain, genetics. And the reason why there's so much money in it is because it opens up the door for all types of medication. It medicalizes the condition, full stop. It says we've proved it, this is a medical condition, and here is a pill, or here's a bunch of pills that you're going to have to take for the rest of your life, and you'll never have alcoholism again. Let me just say that I will never have alcoholism again, and I don't have to take a bunch of pills or go to the doctor to do it. I just have to use my brain, use my head, use what I was born with and the things that I've learned, you know. So it is in your power to do this, right? It's in your power to make the choice. Every single drop of drink that you ever put into your mouth is your choice. You make the choice to either do it or not to do it, over and over and over again if you carry on doing it. You make the choice once to stop, and then you don't do it anymore. It's mind over matter. Mind over matter. That was a video I'd done last week with a guy. I don't want to call him an idiot because he's not an idiot. He's misinformed, who believes that he's an alcoholic for the rest of his life. And he probably believes that he's got a disease or a gene inside his makeup that's caused him to do this. No. Look, I've rambled on too much in this video already. I'd love to hear what you think about this, what you think about genetic predispositions. Do you think that you were born to drink and that you're going to fight this for the rest of your life? I hope you don't. I really hope you don't, because, you know, I've put a lot of work into trying to convince you that it's not true. And I know from all the feedback that I'm getting, from all the books that I've read over those 3 years and beyond those 3 years, that it's all in your mind. If you want it to be true, then it will be true. If you want to be an alcoholic, then you will be an alcoholic. If you want to believe that you have the power of mind over matter, then guess what? That's what's going to happen. Sure, you're going to have discomfort. Sure, you're going to have cravings. Sure, you're going to not know what to do sometimes, but if you keep that in your mind at all times, that you have the power, it's in your power to do this, then you're going to do it. It's going to be easy. It's going to be simple anyway. Might not be very easy, but it'll be simple. Look, please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Leave a comment if you're on YouTube. Come over to the website and leave a comment there. We have a great community of people, and they're leaving comments all the time and helping out each other all the time. If you're on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, or if you see this on Facebook. Until next time, I hope you have a really good week. Keep it in your head that this is your choice, right? It's your choice to do this. It's mind over matter. And until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for Alcohol Mastery. Onwards and upwards. Good luck.